Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA Sharp Betting Breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Fiddle. Today is Thursday, May 1st. We are back on the YouTube channel after getting kicked off last week. I was just explaining via the wrong microphone that our strike has been rescinded, and we are probably going to be able to bring back Get Down On It. We have Drew Stevens saying, I miss Get Down On It. Peasy saying, get down on it and fix the music, bro. Taylor saying that YouTube finally cracked down on us. We will probably be able to bring that back next week. In terms of content schedule moving forward, we are getting into round 2 and 3, which you will see more every other day sets for these games. You get more of the 3-day breaks built into round 1 of the NBA playoffs. So for that reason, I will find time to do shows pretty much every other day and keep this rolling. That being said, as you get more into the gambling stuff, a little strategy tip right from the start is as you go further and deeper into series, you probably want to decrease your bet exposure. Maybe you're still finding some spots, but you probably don't want to play them as hard. And the reason for that is, and I emphasize this every year around NFL playoffs, Super Bowl, NBA playoffs, as we get towards the NBA finals, just because the games matter more to the players does not mean the games have to matter more to me, you, and our bankroll. We don't need to bet the games bigger because they are on a bigger stage. And so I actually think you go directly the opposite direction and you say, well, we've had multiple games where these lines have been bet into, beaten up, gotten to a consensus point. We saw the open, we saw the close, we saw the subsequent result. We then repeated that for game 2. Then we learn what the venue change angle is, and we see that for games 3, and then it repeats for game 4. Then by the time you get to game 5 or game 6, as we are going to just discuss 3 game 6s today, and 1 beginning of round 2 series between Cleveland and the Indiana Pacers. As you get here, we're seeing a lot of these consensus line forms, little line movement. So unless you have a strong basketball angle, unless you have a strong resisting of the market angle, we'll talk about how the market is pricing in some of these spots where you're desperate to win way more. We saw the Lakers get out to -6.5 before tip-off yesterday. So unless you're looking to come back the other direction of these line moves, I would generally say reduce your exposure, still be looking for good plus CLV bets, plus EV positions with, high volume. If you can get props in that regard, if you could get a lot of sides and totals, then do it. But individual bets are probably coming down to half units, whereas when you're at the start of round 2, at the start of round 3, you'll be finding more spots. You'll be playing into more rest advantages, travel advantages, matchup angles that we don't totally know yet, and so there's going to be more on the table, more worth betting into. That all makes sense? It took a while, but we got here. I am joined today by professional poker player Drew Johnson. Drew, we are not going to be sharing the FanDuel odds screen. However, I still don't think that's the reason for a strike. Clearly, that wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I don't really know what's happening. I think the algorithm just flagged us, and now that a human is starting to actually look through our content, they're seeing that, oh, everything's above board, and there shouldn't be any problems going forward, I don't think, but we want to just be safe for the next week or so that we don't get a double strike and then have the channel not available for another week or a month or whatever it works out to be.
2 months for a double strike.
Jeez.
We can't run that risk. What would Larry McJetters be able to do to say, we heard you the first time, don't redo it? Like, we need to be able to do the intro 2 times over because my microphone wasn't plugged in properly and we wanted to get the audio crisp. But, like, honestly, if we had to get locked down from YouTube for 2 months through the WNBA season, that would suck. So we will wait until we could speak to a human, figure out exactly what the protocol is, have a contact point, and then hopefully in a few shows, we are running it back normally with the FanDuel odds screen. However, we will go through every game. We have 4 games, 3 game 6s, and the start of round 2. We will discuss every side and total currently on the board. We will go over any best bets, any actionable angles, market moves, where we think these lines are going to close, where they open, where our action is, Drew, all of the normal stuff. If there is a line that is worth betting, I will happily point out where the best available odds are, and we will certainly make all the pricing very clear as we go through this episode. Ian, can you please add all of the prices to the banners as we get through this, which starts with the New York Knicks plus 1.5 against the Detroit Pistons in Detroit with the series now 3-2 New York. Pistons win game 5 in New York. The two Pistons wins have been game 5 and game 2 on the road. They have yet to win in their own arena. They are opened as a -2, would be pushed out to a -2.5. And now we're seeing a second wave of New York Knicks action push this back to where every single book is holding this, Drew, at New York Knicks plus 1.5. So a little bit of Knicks sentiment coming into the market. Obviously not moving through any key numbers. In the total, we have some discrepancies. We have Circa at 214.5 along with BetMGM. We have 214 at FanDuel, 213.5 at Caesars, Bet365, and some offshores. We have 212.5 right now, Drew, at DraftKings. So 2 points of live discrepancy in the total here. Anything actionable in that regard?
I want to take the over just on principle. I'm scared of just how much defense I'm going to expect from this game. I think Detroit is really going to ratchet that up, knowing that this is an elimination game. They are at home, and they've looked really good against this Knicks team. So I think that defense will be matched by defense on the other side. From Tibbs. I'm also concerned about the health and physical well-being of the Knicks at this point. We saw last game a 2-minute stretch towards the end of the game where Hart and Brunson were both injured, sitting in front of the scorer's table, trying to get back in with only one timeout remaining for Tibbs. Lot of argument in the old Twitter space about what he should have done at that point. I think waiting for a stoppage for maybe 45 seconds was fine. But once it got to like that 1 minute 30 mark, you kind of just have to take the timeout, right?
Yep. And you had no fouls to give. And what I thought the biggest issue with Tibbs coaching right there was actually on one of the final plays of the game when they had to shoot a 3 and then they let Deuce McBride take like 3 dribbles and out off the inbound to reach half court because they also had no timeouts to advance the ball. So with like 5 seconds left, I think it was like 4.5 seconds left, they had to inbound from underneath their own basket. They had to get the ball past half court and then to shoot a 3. And they end up letting Deuce McBride dribble to half court after catching the inbound. And then he just gets fouled and they just give him 2 free throws. And they're like, okay, you guys he misses the first free throw. It's like, okay, now he would have to miss the second one again. And they have to go through this whole angle. When you're in that spot for Tibbs, like you need to have a play akin to remember the Hail Mary play that Halliburton had against the Bucks that we always talk about, and they had all these guys sprinting into their actions, and then it was a catch and shoot. You need to. I understand that was a side out of bounds and the ball was advanced. This is a baseline out of bounds underneath your own hoop. You need to have some sort of play designed where it is catch and pass on immediate until you're finding a shooter. That ball should almost never hit the ground, especially near any defenders, because the whole thing we talk about with this up 3 but foul strategy is that you can't do it if a player is about to get into their shooting motion. But if they put the ball, if they dribble, that's your opportunity. So McBride couldn't have been dribbling near half court. He needs to pick that ball up, be ready to shoot, honestly, shoot a half court shot if someone's getting close to you to try and foul you so that you could try and get the 3 free throws, or be able to be a threat to shoot so they can't foul you. And that way you could still pass the ball to another catch and shoot opportunity. Drew, I think Tibbs is on thin ice with this one. I think the Knicks did not look creative. I think the Knicks, like I said it in the beginning of the series, this is a Knicks obvious spot, and it should have been. And then we said it after game 2 when we did a pod, and you were on that one with me. I was like, hey, I gotta take back what I said a little bit. Like, Pistons look fucking good. And they're showing up, and they're making the Knicks play ugly basketball. And so you got to hand it to them. It's a bit of lack of creativity with the Knicks. It's a bit of the Pistons are willing to get you stuck in the mud a bit, and the Knicks offense is pretty routine and not that innovative. Like, they don't have that Kenny Atkinson type of coach. So I think Tibbs is going to get through this, but is going to be on real thin ice unless they overperform against Boston. So the potentially actionable angles right now, Drew, are following the Knicks team that's entered the market as the second wave that's currently happening, or possibly taking this over. If I look towards the line history of this total, Drew, the 212.5 that remains at DraftKings hasn't moved since last night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
If I look at all of the spots that are 214.5, that started moving up from 212.5 this morning. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern, Circa moves it from 212.5 to 213.5, moves it up to 214, moves it up to 215, eventually brings it back down to 214.5. FanDuel moves it up from 212.5 to 213 to 214, and that's where they're holding it now. So, like, the books that are doing more recent movement are certainly bringing this towards the over, and that second wave of action being on the New York Knicks. Anything that you think is actionable, because, like, we're not going to find huge moves happening right now. This is not going to go another 3 or 4 points until close. Sometimes when we do the show in the regular season, you will still get 3 points of line movement that come hit the market. I don't think we're going to see that in a game 6 situation. Do you think any of these spots, Knicks plus 1.5 over 212.5, are actionable? I will leave it to you and follow your decision here.
I think the over is actionable, considering that this line has been hanging now for 12 hours and every other book is updated over the last 90 minutes. So DraftKings is just behind the market right now. So I'm happy, and I took them for 3/4 of a unit myself. I would probably say half a unit is a good bet. And if you're feeling spicy, 3/4 is what I went with. So whatever you'd like to do there. But when a book hangs a line like that, it's really, really prudent to pretty much always play it, especially 2 points in the playoffs. Like, give it to me.
I wish we had a video that we knew had 0 copyright infringements. Like, we have so many great videos here, but I think playing an NBA clip, playing someone else's TikTok video of them dancing, grabbing the little Dicky clips that we have probably doesn't work. So take 30 seconds to play the over 212.5 at DraftKings for this Knicks at Detroit Pistons, with the entire market moving up this morning. Small play towards the over half unit on that spot. Drew, let's move on to the Nuggets taking on the Clippers. We are in LA. We have a spread that moved from Clippers -6 at open all the way up to 7, back down to 6.5 with juice. So we see expensive 6.5s and any 7s left, a few 7s on the market, but generally, this is a Clippers spot back at home, pricing in some of that zigzag angle that you get in NBA playoffs with the reverse winners. We have the Clippers, who have been priced as favorites pretty much the entire time of this series. Prior to game 1, they were a series favorite, like on the full series price. I said series favorite, so hopefully that made sense. Going into game 2 on the road, they were a -1. At home, they were a -7, 7.5. Going back to Denver, they were a -2 on the road. Now they go back home, and we're getting this 6.5, 7 price again. I think this is perfectly priced now. If you didn't grab Clippers -6 and you're looking at a 6.5 or 7 and some expensive 6.5s, I would just forego that, because we know how important the 6 is, the most common number in NBA outcomes the last 3 seasons. So this is very important in line movement that you should pay attention to. And perhaps if you're on the wrong side of it or missed it, then I would be cautious about still paying into it and chasing it. In terms of the total in this game, it's sitting pretty much a consensus 212 out there. This line opened at 214 and a half, Drew. Game 5 closed at 209 and a half. Would go towards the over, and then there was 5 points of repricing, bringing this to 214 and a half because Jamal Murray shot lights out. Russell Westbrook was 50% from 3. So pretty much all of the Nuggets role players were lights out, shooting amazing. I think they shot like 48% from 3 for the game, which is just nuclear output. And so it was a shooting variance type of game. So any 5 points of line movement between playoff games, like unless there's like a staggering Dame injury, right? When Dame went out, the line moved 7.5 points to the under the next game from the previous one, right? So unless we're seeing that, I don't think we're supposed to see 5 points of line movement between games. That's why you've seen some under steam bring this back down to 212. Drew, I think these are perfectly priced spread in total. How do you feel about it? Do you have anything actionable on this game?
No, if anything, it looks like the sharper books opened at the -7 for the Clippers, and it's being moved towards the 6.5 and the 6. Caesars just opened a 6, -115, but they've been the lowest price line on the board pretty much since it opened. I can't back the Clippers at that price, but I also don't expect Denver to be able to keep up necessarily in this one. I think they probably are just playing for game 7 in their own barn at this point. And I like how I say barn. You can tell I've been watching NHL. Uh, they could the Nuggets could also just steal this one. Like if there's a team that loves to blow series, it is this Clippers team. Widely considered that playoff James Harden has shown up finally in sort of the not showing up sense. Been hearing that on a lot of the content that I've been taking in over the last couple of days. I do think the Clippers will look better in this game, and I do think they pull out a win. If anything, I would take a Clippers money line for like, I don't know, 2/3 of a unit and bring home a third approximately. Like that's not the worst play, but also you could just skip this one.
I think that's probably the right move, Drew. As you were talking, we saw a lot of 6.5 start flashing. Some are moving back to -110. Others are moving further out to be juiced. So one offshore just moved it 6.5 to -116, which is strange. Another one moved it multiple places. That's crazy. Bookmaker hanging a 6.5 -116. Other places bringing 6.5 -115 back to -110. So very flat market developing. This is probably one where you're at consensus now. We've seen this be priced unless you have a strong basketball sense of this game, or if you're resisting, honestly, if you feel like you're some Denver sided mindset and then you could find like the remaining +7s out there, then that could be an angle as well. It's never about the opinion or the basketball perspective. It is about the numbers. So numbers would say if there's Denver resistance coming into the market, you could see it and still potentially grab a +7. I grabbed a Clippers -6. I would not touch a 6.5, given how important the 6 is and the 7 is. You could make the case, Drew, that having the line, it's not you could make the case. You are objectively correct. If you say you have a -6 line that closes at 6.5, you're in a great spot. If you have a +7 line that closes at 6.5, you are in a great spot. So if we close at 6.5, then maybe this game lands at 6.5, and all the +7s and all the -6s all win.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
you get the point, though. It's more long-term process than individual results.
The other thing about us specifically in this game/series is we do have a plus odds bet that is probably currently behind the market, considering the Clippers are down 3-2 in this series. but we do have a plus money bet for 1 unit on the series itself. So at this point, with sharp lines, it's better to just ride that for sure.
Oh yeah, there's no question of like I even double down, right? Like I actually think that's a great point, Drew. I have a series price. You do too. Anyone in the WAP does too. Clippers plus 160 was the series price given out prior to game one. And then we had game one, before game one, we had the Clippers minus 130 in the market. So you hit a plus 160 and then it moves to minus 130 before the game even takes place. You go 1-1 in the series. You go 2-1 LA in the series. You could have had amazing Denver prices the whole time. Denver's now taken 2 straight. I've said this before. I've said this a million times. I'm really never looking to hedge series prices. The only time I would have hedged a series price is possibly if the Bucks got to game 7 because they lost Dame Lillard. And so I bet Bucks in the series once they were already down 0-2 and got Dame back. And then they win a game and then they subsequently lose Dame in the first quarter of the next one.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting on the Bucks and go, this is the one where you'd want to hedge. This is the one where you'd want to arbitrage if you got the point. You want to try and buy off it, dump it out, hedge it with an indie in a specific game if that's what it takes, right? In the Clippers sense, even though you're behind the market, what's important is a volume of good tickets. And so just because Denver Clippers series plus 160 and having the Clippers side of that is no longer a good ticket right now in the market doesn't mean I need to make decisions around like figuring out how to like optimize that. The way to optimize my bankroll is to just focus on the next best bet, which at the time was Clippers -6 as it moved to 6.5 and 7. So you can double dip into series prices. You can play a series price on a thing and then immediately play the next game on the other team. As long as you think that these are all plus EV bets, as long as you're beating the market with them, you could have played Clippers for the series and then taken a sharp side Denver in game one that developed, right? So whatever it means, as long as you have a volume of tickets that close in front of the line, you are going to be doing well. Sometimes that literally means arbitraging something outright, sometimes that means playing for a middle. Sometimes that would mean coming back in on a series spread when you already have an outright winner, and you could find ways to do that. But just always thinking, oh, now this ticket's in a bad spot, which Drew's like, oh, the Clipper series price is in a bad, it is, doesn't mean your whole focus needs to be about obsessing over that one. Just move on, find another good ticket, and place it. Drew would say, muck that hand and deal the cards again.
Yep. On to the next.
On to the next would be the Rockets taking on the Golden State Warriors in Golden State. Line opens for this game, Drew, 5.5 at FanDuel, 5 everywhere else. We see that 5.5 last mere seconds at FanDuel. I'm even checking the line history, and it doesn't even say it was there. Trust me, I know it was there. You know when sometimes you're in these playoff games because you don't necessarily even know if there's going to be a next game. You don't know if the series, if it's going to be a completely new series. So sometimes your odds screen doesn't have the next game ready to go. And so it might take a while for that to populate. And sometimes when it populates the current odds, not the history of that line. It's from the history from when that line popped up. And so right now I see FanDuel's opening line on my odds screen was a 5 when I know for damn sure it was a 5.5 that lasted seconds. So now we're seeing 4.5s and 5s in the market, Drew. This is a pricey Warriors zigzag spot to now put them at -5. They've never been a -5 in this series. So asking them to be a -5 in the series on short rest, on travel for an old team after getting smacked in the mouth by the Rockets in the last game, like why besides desperation and hunger are the Warriors out to -5? There's probably no reason, but that reason has shown to be valuable in certain circumstances, right? In Rockets yesterday, they closed at -4.5, the longest home number they ever closed after losing the previous game at the end without Jimmy Butler to the Warriors. So these zigzag spots are being heavily priced into the market, a point and a half further than they should be. The trick, Drew, is finding the spots to pick off and say, this is one where it matters. This is one where it doesn't matter. And it's tricky. How do you feel for Warriors as a -5, 204 total game 6 of the series?
I'm concerned about this Warriors squad currently. And I think, like, I don't want to be overreacting to the game, but what they showed last night was old and tired, right? And the other thing is the Rockets, that first couple of games, they just didn't have their mojo. And now they do. Like, very clearly they do. Amon Thompson was running around last night, flexing all over everything, just being an absolute nuisance. He had an incredible game without
Did you see the
any.
steal where he ripped Curry at half court and
Oh,
ran
yeah.
down and through the? It was like 71-49. I think that made the score like go close to near halftime. I was watching my TV and I knew the Warriors would make like somewhat of a late run, but not really. I don't think they would get it within single digits ever, and they did it with their bench and they never brought back their starters. I saw that Amon Thompson rip Steph Curry at half court, go coast to coast for the yam, and I was like, that's the game ender right there.
Yeah.
First half, this game's over.
Yeah.
He was incredible.
He was unbelievable. Every piece of stock that, if you remember the top 100 players or the top 100 contracts pod from Simmons and Russillo earlier, every bit of praise they laid on this man is deserved. This is crazy. Yep. Like
25, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals, and 3 blocks yesterday.
Yeah, it was incredible. And this is against a team that spaces the floor well, that shoots well, that has veterans. He mucked up everything, right? And then was able to get those fast break points. They were able to use Fred VanVleet as if he was Steph Curry. Did you see the shot he hit with the guy literally draped on his head and like between two guys? And I think that's what I tweeted last night. Did Fred just have another kid? Because there's no way. There's no way he's shooting like this if he didn't have another kid. I am well aware of what happens when Fred VanVleet Jr.'s come into the world and Fred finally gets that kind of like stress and pressure off of his back and goes absolutely nuclear over the course of 2 series to win a Toronto Raptors championship.
I think Fred VanVleet is the birth of the, pun intended, that when you become a father, you ball the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Derek White did it last year, too?
Yep, that's right.
And then he shaved his head, and he was like, Derek White is coming back bald and fucking balling out.
You could look at Tatum's career as like pre-deuce, post-deuce, right?
Yes. I genuinely
like pre-deuce, he was not the guy yet. And then after deuce, he like leaned into it. And let's just take a quick aside. What he's done over the last 3 games against this Magic team, and obviously they won the series, bona fide number 1 superstar. If he's not winning, like if they get through the Eastern Conference Finals and into the finals this year again, and he doesn't win Conference Finals MVP, like shoot me.
I'm putting a mortgage on Tatum Conference Finals MVP this year. There's no fucking way he doesn't. And if you're like Fiddle, you did that last year and it caught up with you. You'd be right, and I got to get it back.
To be fair, both maybe not the conference finals, but definitely the NBA finals. There was a lot of controversy about that.
I remember being on a Buckets Live, and Tatum was minus 2,400 when the minus 2,500 says Ian when the line locked. And then Brown won it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I actually remember because I was tweeting it and I was following it a lot during the game because obviously it was close and I wasn't on any sides or totals for that game 5, and everyone was really focused on the MVP market because we knew who was going to win. I just kept tweeting it out like, "Hey, odds are here and here. Odds are now Tatum minus 1,000. Odds are now Tatum minus 1,300. We've gone to Tatum minus 1,800. Tatum's now minus 2,500. The lines have now locked. It seems like Tatum is our MVP." And then I'm on Buckets Live I literally thought I had already won it, and they're like, Jaylen Brown MVP, and I was like, you want to know what the least thing I want to do right now is? Be on Buckets Live. Like, I want to go fucking break something because that's bullshit, and just
And
had
then
a
bury your head in a
terrible bad
hole.
beat and have like 5 units on it.
Yeah, that was disgusting when I saw it. And like, did any of the people who had votes watch the series? Like,
Yeah,
Tatum was the
exactly.
most valuable player.
It was
I
so. It was
understand
all
that his
they gave it to
efficiencies.
Jaylen Brown because of his defense on Luka. Come on, that's crazy. Okay. Anyways, I think there was an MVP thought that I had, but we'll save that for another time. Okay. Drew, Rockets Warriors was so nothing actionable for that game.
If anything, I want a little bit of the Houston side, and it keeps going towards them because I just think that they're going to be more desperate, I think, than this Golden State Warriors team.
Yep.
But Golden State kind of has to win this,
They
right?
have
Like,
to.
if they go back to the Rockets, like, I don't think they have quite enough unless their role players decide to just have an anomaly of a shooting game.
And it's every other night. So the next one will be Friday. Like, it'll be tomorrow, Friday's game 6, and then it'll be a potential Sunday game 7 situation, like back on the road. It's a tough spot for the Warriors. So
I think so too.
Jimmy
didn't look like himself.
It is a Warriors absolutely need this game spot, and the market is pricing it in, and they're saying, watch out, this one might be worth paying the premium of the extra price.
Yeah, and it's moving towards the Rockets still.
And it's moved a hair towards the Rockets. So yeah, I would say buyer beware.
Yeah, buyer beware on the Golden State Warriors side. I'm gonna watch how this one plays out, but I'm seriously considering a Houston +5. Even didn't last game, like, I realize Butler wasn't in, but he's also not 100% at all, right? Like, what we saw from him yesterday was not the Jimmy Butler
was wincing.
we saw.
You could see it in the fourth quarter too. It's just like, okay, that pregame pain meds are wearing off as we get to the fourth quarter because they used Toradol, and apparently it only lasts for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So he probably is getting that pregame, and then it's probably wearing off close to the end.
You and I both know, like, I'm literally I'm going to the chiropractor right now and getting tailbone work done because of how bad I've landed on it so many times over the years and just never had it fixed. This kind of back pain, it comes and goes. So if he's like better tomorrow, that is a possibility. It is also a possibility that he's worse. So,
yep.
I'm concerned for this Warriors team, and I don't know if they're going to get by this Houston squad at all at this point. Actually, I'm curious, what's the series price on Houston right now?
+400. And if you're taking
Houston for game
4, I would be doing both.
Yeah. Like I want to take like a half unit of Houston against the spread. I want to take a quarter unit of Houston money line, and I want to
would Houston be favored at home in game 7? They would be, right? They were -4.5 in game 5 at home. They were.
I think they would be. I don't think
they've been a favorite every game at home. They closed game 1 -2.5. They closed game 2 -4.5, and they closed game 5 minus. Was it 5? Yeah,
something
6?
like
5?
But
-4.5 as well.
They're factoring in desperation, which in a game 7 both teams would have, and some of those games were priced without Butler certainly at the close, right? So I do still think they'd be favored. I think the market will respect Curry and Butler, and it's going to be like Rockets -1.5, -2, something of that nature.
Right. It probably is, because I was thinking, like, you can't fucking hedge that. You can't play, if you're going to play Rockets +400, just hit it the other way once we get there. Then just play Rockets money line or play Rockets +5. Like, put that exposure all towards game 6. if you were going to get Rockets -4 again in game 7, it would be really fun to take the Rockets plus 410 and then come back the other way with Warriors +4 and try and middle that thing. Because it's also instantly a arbable hedge, because if you have plus 410 and minus 110 on the other side later, like you come back, let's say you have one unit on a plus 410, right? The units win 4.1. Then you come back the other way with 2.2 to win 2 on Warriors +4, +3, or whatever. That would be a hell of a fun sweat where you would have yourself in a nice position. But I would not recommend doing that, because you're probably not going to get the -4-ish. As Drew said, it's probably going to be 1.5 or 2 pricing against Steph and Jimmy and Dre in a game 7 in that experience. And so for that factor, you probably can't do that middling. John Wall says, any thoughts on thumb injury of Steph? Brooks says he's targeting that area on purpose. Dylan Brooks, hilarious comment by you. Also, we have another great comment by John Wall. I will speak to that in 1 second. Drew, any thoughts about the thumb injury of Steph?
Look, if you have an advantage, this is the NBA playoffs, and there's only one title winner. I think it's prudent, and I think that's what Brooks was saying, that you attack those spots. Now, I wouldn't be trying to attack them physically, where I'm trying to hit his thumb and make it worse and that kind of stuff. But I would be trying to make him dribble with that hand more.
Dribble with that hand, shade him towards dribbling that way, close out on the shot, and specifically in that direction too.
Be careful with that hand. Be careful with that hand. It looked a little weird. Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, you.
We
don't want an Elon Musk moment.
Oh, that's tough. Oh, that was great. I was wondering where you were going with that. John Wall also says, shout out Bronny. Bronny likes the Warriors tonight. I had
Are we talking LeBron's son or your dog?
He's definitely talking about my dog.
Okay.
And we know LeBron's not rooting for the Warriors after being ousted at 40 years old by a young team. I had a talk with my Bronny last night, and people know that who've been watching the show know that recently, ever since the trade, I've been calling her Bronchich around the house. And so saw the Lakers get eliminated last night. Bronchich was on the couch during the game. I swear to God, this is true. On the couch with me during the game, leaves the couch in the fourth quarter and is like, fuck this. And by the time the game is ending, is already waiting in my bed sleeping. She's like, I'm done with this. I have no interest in this game. And so and then I went to bed and I said to her, Bronchich, you're out of the playoffs. You had a good run. A whole powwow with her, letting her know that she's out. I said, you still have to watch these games with me every night, but you are out. And it was very, very good. Let's move on to, we have one more, Drew. We have not Rockets. We have Pacers at Cavaliers. First round 2 series that is starting. Now, I want to say for the round 2 stuff, I will probably do a show either Saturday morning, Friday night, maybe Sunday morning. I'm not sure when we're going to get all of the round 2 matchups, but I do plan on going live and doing a little 45 minutes going over some series stuff as we find out the rest of the series, and we will reflect on and re-hit Cavs Pacers when we do that. However, since we're here and we have it priced, let's quickly discuss it.
Sure.
Regular season matchup stuff, Drew, goes 3-1 Indiana.
Yeah.
The one that Cleveland would win was game 2 in that series without Halliburton. Halliburton would get hurt in the first game when they played. They would play 2 days later. And then they would, Cleveland would win without Halliburton. There are other games in that series where Cleveland shot horribly, and it was just bad shooting variance where they're shooting 26%. There's other ones that Indiana out-rebounded Cleveland. So it's one of the ones where when you look at the previous matchup and regular season data, because they played so early in the year, because they played a short order in 2 nights without Halliburton, because there was bad shooting splits in one of them, I kind of not valuing much of the early matchups here. Some of the Bucks Pacers ones I felt like were a little more applicable because of when they played. And so for that reason, Drew, I think despite Indy having a good performance in the regular season, I think this is a strong Cavaliers spot, especially in game 1. We saw the price open 7.5. Cavaliers now out to 8 pretty much everywhere. I'll check on that in a second. We played 7.5 and a minus 286. I was wondering why it was 286, but that was the price on a money line for this game. And we also played the over at 226.5. We have a full unit on the over 226.5. We have the Cavaliers minus 7.5 and the money line, each for about half a unit. I think 0.4 units for both of them. So looking Cavaliers and the over in this spot, I would say Cavaliers minus 7.5 is minus 112 at DraftKings. I would say that is definitely still actionable. Drew, my question for you would be 3 points of movement towards the over. Books hitting 230 yesterday and coming back down. I'm going to assume you're going to say no. Currently playing the over 229.5. Would you still do it?
No, just a hard no there. I think when it's moved this far and we've seen it come back already, that means playback is coming from sharps, and we're already at the sharp spot. So this line, I think, closes probably 228.5. I would say. Whoa.
Why do you say 228.5? Because you're a smart fucking guy, Drew. So it was Bookmaker that had this up to 230. All right. And when I saw it at 230, I was like, nice. A sharp book putting this at 230. I'm having 226.5. This is great news. Now we're seeing that work back a little bit. Bookmaker's now at 228.5, Drew. The whole rest of the market, 229.5, 229 FanDuel, 229.5 minus 115 on the offshore. What's the question? Not do I still play an over for people that aren't in the WAP and missed our over 226.5 for a full unit? Drew, do I open up the middle now? Is this where you play back a third of a unit, or do you just let it a quarter unit, or you just let this ride at 229.5?
I'm inclined to let it ride at 1 unit with 3 points of movement upwards. I know this is the playoffs, but if you're going to lean into spots, it's better to lean into that early in the series. So I would rather just let the 1 unit ride.
Just keep the full value on that CLV.
Yeah.
Because even though you have a positive middle, even though you can play it back and 3 points of total makes this, hey, if you had 3 points of movement in a total for every game and you played both sides of it, you'd be a fucking rich man. You'd invoke some Fiddler on the Roof. If I was a rich man, la-di-da-di-da-di. Why does Mike Fiddle know the Fiddler on the Roof songs? I'll let you guys figure that out.
I wonder why.
I'll let you guys figure that out for yourself. But yeah, so if you have the movement and you have the position to institute a positive middle, you're also foregoing some of the value created by having a ticket with 3 points of line movement towards the over. So sometimes, like Drew's saying, it's only 1 unit. The way me and Drew, not everyone thinks this way, but me and Drew do, is a lot of it is tied to your exposure. Because let's say you have 3 points of line movement. Let's say you have 4 points of line movement. Let's say you have 5 points. Let's say you have 6 points, 7 points, 8 points, 9 points, 10 points of line movement, right? The bigger middle, having 10 points of line movement, would afford you an awesome opportunity for a middle. It also is so much value gained on your original ticket. So it's kind of a sliding scale and it's proportional. The more CLV you have, makes that ticket more valuable, which also makes your middle more likely to hit, which also makes when you institute the playback, you're also foregoing larger value. So it's kind of proportional, the amount of CLV you've gained and like the value of that versus the probability of hitting the middle. The bigger the probability of hitting the middle, the more value you're foregoing playing back your original ticket. And so for a lot of these reasons, it becomes, well, if you only played it for a unit, then leave it. But if you played it for 3 units, or if I had known that this line was going to move enough to play back, I would have added on the position simply to have the playback. Because then you have 2 positive positions and not just a ton of exposure in one direction. So you have some proper bankroll management, some proper risk staking, and you have multiple plus EV positions, a plus EV middle and a plus EV over. And so for those reasons, if you could 3 unit this and 1.5 unit it back, that would be ideal. But if I only have 1 unit, because that's what I would do, right? If I had 3 units on this, I would 1 to 1.5 unit it back and let ride 1.5 to 2 units. So why wouldn't I just let ride 1 unit?
Exactly. The other thing is, if you're going to play back, you typically want to be kind of like as close to the peak number as possible to gain CLV on the second ticket. Because if you do that, that's the dream, right?
Yes.
So if you had grabbed a half unit playback at the 230 and now we're looking at a 228.5, that's a great ticket as well. So
if this line closes consensus 228.5, Drew, then I would say the correct decision at 229.5 would have been to play it back. There's currently 1 228.5 on the market, and it's the book that got up to 230 and is coming back down to now be a little bit, because they got the higher, they probably took some under money. Now they want to bring in some over liability, so they put the number a little lower than the market. So you also need to understand some of these factors too.
Yeah, especially like books always have the advantage in charging the extra vig, right? So they can play a middle that we can't play because of that.
They have plus 110 every time you bet minus 110.
Exactly.
Profound statement. We are using all of these things as clues. Where books opened, which book had it where they're moving, what a model has it at, what previous opens and closes were, what happened in previous matchup sets, how are these teams playing recently, what are the injury reports. These are all clues and context so that you could eventually get to the point where you're like, yeah, it's Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the candlestick. Motherfucker's dead.
The Advantage Sports Detective Agency.
Did you understand my it's Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the candlestick reference?
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm a 90s kid, my man. I played that game relentlessly.
And thumb up or down, do you understand that reference? No.
He doesn't get it. All right.
There's a board game called Clue, and that would be you'd have to solve a murder mystery. And a movie. It is a movie, right?
The movie's phenomenal.
I've never seen the movie.
Oh, really? Yeah, definitely watch
my first Xbox name, like a gamer tag name, and then it was my first few fantasy football team names was Colonel Mustard. Except I was a little bit before my time to do Colonel Mustard. Anything that we need to talk about series pricing for this one, Drew? Series prices came in at, I think, Cavs minus 430, 450. Took some quick steam. We're now seeing a Cavaliers minus 550 on the series price.
I think if anything, that's a bit high.
Yeah, if you're an indie person, play the series.
Yeah, I also wouldn't play the series money line for very much. If anything, I would be looking at what's the series spread at.
So I'll have to do some, like, here's my issue with this, right? I mean, you can kind of test this in other ways. Like what we need to do is understand what the market hold is between like the two, because they're not yes/no markets, but there technically is the flip side of Pacers minus 1.5 line by using one of the other ones, right? So you could calculate the market hold by pairing up the right lines and determining what the yes/nos are. Wow, I'm explaining this like I was sharing the FanDuel odds screen, and I'm moving my mouse around, being like, you see this here, you see this here, and then I come back to the screen and realize you're like, no, I don't see this anywhere.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, anyways, there's a bunch of series prices listed. Cavs plus 2.5, plus 3.5, plus 1.5, minus 3.5, minus 2.5, all at different prices. And so they all look like one-sided markets, but you can technically find the other side of that bet with understanding what the reverse option of that would be. And then you could then calculate the theoretical hold of that market, and you could understand if you're betting into, 7.5% on a series spread as opposed to 6.5, or with line shopping, you should be able to reduce these. But like with series betting, you should be able to get down to like a 3% market hold, which is very viable to bet into. And so if that's true with series spreads, then I would also look in that regard too. Just make sure you're doing the basic math of adding together the two implied probabilities of what you're looking at, understanding what they add up to above 100%, reducing 100% from it, and what you're left over is the rake rate. So if you add up, this is really nerdy and hard to explain without having the numbers.
I do see one angle that I like.
Go for it.
Over under total series total is -115 to the over 5.5. I bet this goes 6.
So let me ask you something, because I know I think the answer is the current line, but I know the Pacers plus 1.5 games, right? Which means they don't lose in 4 or 5, which means it goes over 5.5, right? Because it would go 6 or 7. Or the Pacers end up winning in 4 or 5 if you take Pacers plus 1.5. So you essentially have over 5.5 games on a Cavaliers ticket, and you have the chance of it being Pacers end up sweeping or winning 4-1, and that is best in the market -130. Would you pay an extra 15 cents? I think not, for the chance that it's an outright win.
Oh, you mean you said plus 1.5? You mean plus 2.5? I think
plus 2.5. Is that what it is? Is it
yeah,
-140
at FanDuel and
-130
other places?
plus 2.5.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, pay the extra 15 cents for the extra chance.
I would go the other way. I would go. It's probably not worth paying the extra 15 cents from between a -115 and
because you think like there's just no chance that Indy takes this in less than.
And the 15-cent difference between -115 and -130 is a bigger 15-cent difference than if you were getting plus 410 and plus 425, right? Like it correlates.
You're right.
The edge correlates to the implied probability. So the chance that you're
adding 15 cents of vig is not. Is more detrimentally than taking it away.
I'll do some basic math. It's 56.5% versus
60, probably, or like
53. So it's 3.1% you're paying extra. That it goes. That's not saying that it's a 3.1% chance of a Pacers sweep, or it's just 3.5% extra of payment. Interesting. Okay, it's probably negligible value difference.
Yeah, that would be the only thing that I see series total wise.
With all of the angles of Cavs taking the game 1 action and the series action, I'd probably just go pay less vig and say the sharp side has been Cavs. Give me the over 5.5 games and pay less for it.
Yeah.
Personally,
I don't think you want to take anything else. Like even Cavs -1.5 is -188. Like that's way too high. Or way too much.
Like this is a game-to-game series where grabbing that Cavs -7.5 for game 1 is probably worth it. Drew, we saw a movement on FanDuel towards the over for Knicks Pistons right now. Is that 212? Yeah, that 212.5 is still there at DraftKings. I'm going to bet it right now. Like I don't think I could even wait until after the show at this point.
No, you probably can't. We also, like you said, that Cavs -7.5 at DraftKings is still actionable as well if you don't have it yet. We did release that in the newsletter last night, and it's been released in the WAP. Yep. But if you're only here at the show, definitely grab a piece of that for sure as well.
5 units on 0.5 units, 5 units, 0 half a unit on that over.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. And there's one where you might want to consider opening the middle if that gets to a 215 somehow.
Yeah, or live in game if they have a great first half. Expect the second half to slow down a little bit. Over 212.5 show play. Knicks Pistons tonight, baby. Drew, the last thing that I want to do before we go is a one shot for BETSTAMP.
Can we talk about just one other thing first?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, what's up?
Really, really impressed with what I saw from Cade Cunningham
Oh yeah.
in that last game. He was having an atrocious shooting game, really rough sort of offensive game for him. He definitely is one of those guys who's like, oh, my shot's not going. I'm going to make up for it in other ways. He was out there putting out assists, playing good defense. Gee, is he ever big too? Like I was just taken aback by the size. It might be some of which is the hair, but the size difference between him and a guy like Brunson.
Yeah,
Uh,
even him and Josh Hart, like he's thick.
yeah,
Yep.
he's just and he's definitely put on some weight
Yep.
over the course of this season.
Yeah, he
I
has
think
got
he's put
broad
on a little
shoulders,
weight.
and normally you lose
Yeah.
weight over the course of the season. He looks the same,
The-
if not broader.
The way he's operating low in the paint as a guard, especially as a ball handling guard, is actually really impressive. And the other thing was he never let his bad shooting night get to him. He hit a big three down the stretch after only being 0 for 3 from the field and from that range prior to that. He got a couple of big buckets. He made some excellent reads as the defense came towards him. This is a guy who we're starting to see become the next point god. He can kind of do everything. He's a bit like Brunson. He can get a bucket at will. But he's also a bit like Chris Paul in that he's controlling the game already. And he's a bit like Trae Young in that he can just jack a three and get a bucket that way and really ice these games. He is clutch. He is everything you want from a point guard. And I understand why he never won Rookie of the Year. Shout out Scotty Barnes, who did. Hindsight being 2020, I think Mobley should have won that
Yes.
prize.
Yes.
And I also think that Cunningham was in a position where he couldn't even have a chance at it, given his
He
coach,
wasn't good
his
enough
team.
then. Right.
He wasn't quite good enough either. But if he had been on a little
That's
bit
why
of
he
a
was
different
going for most
squad,
improved this year. It's like because he got so much vastly better, but then everyone had the dude. You
Yeah.
were the first pick, so you can't be most improved. It's just like we've done this before. There's been second picks that have won pretty recently. It's all. That's why I don't bet most improved. I have no idea what the criteria is because Dyson Daniels does not fit the criteria. If we did this award prior to the season and said, oh, it's Paul George, it's Brandon Ingram, it's John Morant, it's Julius Randle, it's all these guys that became all-stars and were all-stars that year, you would have never bet Dyson Daniels if you knew the criteria, where if you weren't just thinking, oh, who do I think might improve this year? Like, it's just... There was a late Kobe White steam last year, but then it was Maxey who got it, which was an all-star last year, Tyrese Maxey. Yeah. And it is like a huge name and a high usage point scorer guy. And so there was a big Kobe White steam, but Maxey still got it. I feel like it was the Kobe White movement came to fruition this year with the Dyson Daniels winning most improved.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just so open to interpretation that I'm starting to just not want to risk money on it. There's too many variables on something like that.
Yeah, so tie it up for the full year, pay 13% market hold, bet an award that no one gives, and that no one has a fuck what the fucking voting criteria is. Yeah, skip it.
Yeah, I think so too. The only other thing I want to mention is
if you're listening to this show, send me your Dyson Daniels ticket and I'll tell you I was wrong.
Okay.
Don't pick off. Don't pick off and be like, well, I won this other awards market this year. Well, yeah.
This is funny because we're literally going to do a W pod here in the next couple of weeks and go back into the awards and stuff like that. And we're definitely going to make bets. I know we are.
I kind of like always make like one or two, but they're super selective.
And I mean, we already have a couple.
Caitlin Clark, most assist leader, futures prices on teams that have clearly gained value. Yeah, if you use all the metrics that relate to plus EV betting, value can be found. But in an NBA award like most improved, I mean, that shit's very difficult. Okay, let's do the BetStamp segment. Drew, can you pull up the BetStamp odds screen?
Absolutely.
Don't bother sharing it because
yeah, I know.
we're uncertain about that.
We don't know what's going on.
BETSTAMP, we love you. This is not your fault, but we're not going to share the screen today.
We're scared. We're very
Yeah,
scared.
exactly. You know, we don't want these baseball umpires to come give us a second strike.
No, please don't.
For people who might be new and tuning in and are like, what do you mean BETSTAMP? What is the over under 1.5 shots for BETSTAMP? I am going to take these two balls. It's because this one is a weird alien shaped ball and is half of one. It half counts. If I make either shot, Drew, I have a fascinating story. I have a fucking fascinating story for you. Holy shit, I have an amazing story for you. If I make one of two shots on that hoop right there, we will give out a plus EV plus money bet from BETSTAMP. That is the pro odds screen that me and Drew both use. You could sign up for it at betstamp.com/fiddle, or you could just go to the betstamp.com website and sign up for a demo. This is the highest level odds screen I've ever been exposed to. People ask me all the time, Fiddle, what odds screen do you use? What gambling resources do you use? The BetStamp Pro odds screen tool is by far the most common thing that I use, the most helpful thing that I use, something that I have a dedicated second monitor to with it full screened at all times. That's how much I love BetStamp, and we appreciate them for loving us. And Drew, are you ready to hear an amazing story?
Yes, sir, I am.
See this beautiful haircut that I have?
I do.
Came out nice, right?
Yeah.
So I'm on the barber chair.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to my guy, and I'm not really one to talk much in barber shops. I'm you know, I talk a lot.
You're in your own
on
head.
Podcast. I'm a pretty quiet guy, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not really saying much, but I am overhearing some other conversations in the barbershop. And this one barber is talking to this guy, and he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And it's your basic, small, you know, small talk stuff. Like, honestly, not that interesting, not that appealing. Like, if I was in the same spot, I just wouldn't be having the conversation. Where he's just like, "Oh, I do woodworking," and the guy's like, "Oh, what do you do? Like cabinets and stuff?" And he's like, "No, we make like kids' toys on Amazon." And I'm like sitting there, like, all right, like,
interesting.
Cool.
That's
Cool.
actually interesting.
Cool. This guy woodworks kids' toys. He's like, oh, like, all right, interesting. He goes, yeah, we do things like little basketball hoops and like ones that are like nicer, like not necessarily the plastic one, but like a nice wooden one for kids. You know, and he's like, it's like, oh, do you have a shop? He goes, no, we are only an Amazon retailer. Drew,
Okay.
light bulbs start popping off in my mind, and in which I'm in my barber chair, and I spin my chair around, and I'm like, excuse me, my guy, which I think was verbatim how it came out. Excuse me, my guy.
Yeah.
Did you just say that you make wooden basketball hoops and sell them on Amazon? He's like, yeah. And I go, all right, I'm about to get up from this chair in a minute. I'm going to show you a picture. I host a daily NBA show, and I recently ordered a wooden kids' toy basketball hoop off Amazon, like a nice one. I go, do you sell them as just wooden, or do you paint them? He's like, no. We paint them. We make them. I go, okay. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a picture of my, and I pull up the stream that I did that day. This is like a week and a half ago. We had done a show on that day.
Yeah.
And I show him a picture of the video, and in 2 seconds, oh yeah, that's ours.
That's sick.
I met the dude that made this hoop.
That's so sweet.
Just randomly at the barbershop.
Did you get it? Like, did you make a business connection?
I immediately said, do you need an NBA podcast to start promoting your products?
Yes, he does.
He was like, oh, no, we don't do any marketing. It's just off Amazon. And I was like, well, fuck off then. No, I was like, oh, it was nice to meet you. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, cool.
He's like, well, what's your show? He's like, I'd like to know. And I'd like, no, you don't get the prep. No, I was kidding.
Get to know.
So let me see if I can make a shot.
The link. Come on now.
In that guy's hoop.
All right.
Isn't that wild?
That is kind of wild. Small
I'm just
world.
in the barbershop next to the guy who made this hoop.
Made your hoop that you
Out of
bought.
all of the people that are retailers on Amazon, I found the woodworker who happened to make the same basketball hoop that I ordered.
And he just does that for a living. That's so
Yeah,
sick.
exactly.
That's so sick.
So
It's funny
so
too, because I'm
wild.
literally shout out that guy because I'm gonna order one sometime in the next couple of
put
weeks.
it above the piano back there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right over the fireplace.
Exactly. Right over the fireplace. Have a full baseball throw shot to that hoop. All right, I'm gonna shoot these 2 shots. If I make one, Drew will share a plus odds plus EV bet stamp prop scrubbed type of long
Not
shot
a lot
bet.
of them.
I saw one that I found interesting. We'll see if you pull the same one.
Okay.
Knew it was off right from the start.
Did you move the net up?
No. I
Your
moved my
camera's just
camera a
lower?
little bit.
I see. I get it.
Oh, I was gonna say
Fix
cash
it.
right. I was gonna say cash right before it left my fingers because that one felt
Yeah,
great the whole time.
you should have been turning around as that went in, right? That's you do the Steph Curry.
Steph.
No. You shoot it and then turn and ask the kid in the front row if it went in or not. I mean, someday.
One of these days, I'm just gonna make that one. All right,
Okay,
you have the plus.
I
odds
have
bet
the
for
plus
us?
odds screens up.
Give it to me.
I don't see much. I like we got a first basket, we got some points first quarter, but they're not long shots.
Mine wasn't that much of a long shot either, but it was a no double for somebody that was plus odds and plus EV.
Oh, is it Duran?
It was Duran. Or as Reggie Miller would say, Durham.
I mean, he's shown out this series.
He's looked great.
And Mitchell Robinson not looking as good, has had some injury troubles, has had some stuff hampered.
Is Isaiah Stewart playing? Isaiah Stewart questionable.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? If Isaiah Stewart plays, I love it. If he doesn't play, I don't.
I just think Duran's been rebounding so far above expectation in this series. Like Cat has not been a great rebounder. Go ahead.
He might just be that guy though.
Oh, he is. He's a fantastic rebounder, but the Knicks are also such a strong rebounding team that the Knicks, if he's guarding Josh Hart in kind of this roamer role, then hopefully Hart crashes and Towns can gobble up a few more. That was one of the spots that I was looking was Duran's no double because maybe he just doesn't reach there in rebounds. But yes, he's been a monster this series.
He has been an absolute monster. Nothing else is really. I'm on the full slate too. There's a Sengun triple double for plus 5,000, but I just can't see it.
No. Who was the first basket guy? Mikal Bridges?
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross. All right, we don't have to force it.
It is gross. I don't want to force it. The only the one I do like, there's a couple here that are less. First quarter points, Amen Thompson. 2.5 minus 104 at FanDuel. I kind of like that angle. That's actually a middle, by the way, because 3.5 minus 115 is at Bet365 and ESPN Bet. That said, I kind of just like the over.
Yeah, interesting. Thompson is a full unit over with the half unit under playback.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I'm definitely going to play some of it. So,
okay,
and it is a very high EV. Let me just check the actual number real quick. Max EV 6.5%.
So where is the over? Over 2.5 at FanDuel.
FanDuel,
and the VIG is
minus 104.
Okay, and then the under 3.5 is available ESPN Bet and Bet365.
Bet365 if you
and
got
it's minus
yeah.
115. So here we're doing it, Drew. The long shot plus EV long shot for me. And what does it say the hold is? Minus what?
6.5%.
Okay.
So the EV and the hold are the same.
So what we're going to do is say our plus EV long shot of about plus 6%
Middle.
is the
Yeah.
middle.
Over
2.5 minus 104 at FanDuel, and ESPN Bet or Bet365 under 3.5 minus 115. Playing both of those, 1 unit up, half unit down. The middle is going to be the long shot. We are still tilted towards the over as the main direction that we like. Tony says, please bring back Get Down on It. We will, because this is heinous.
It is pretty heinous.
Nobody likes
every
this.
second of it. Nobody likes it.
Okay. That music sucks. And it's just the basic StreamYard music that it lets us play that we knew was not going to be infringing anywhere. We will figure it out. We will contact backgrounds. We will be back this weekend. At least I will be doing some sort of live show, probably a little impromptu. I will try and tweet it out and let you know when it's happening, because I'm not sure when we have more round 2 data, and we will go through all of the game ones of round 2 once that is known. Thank you to Ian in the back. Thank you to Drew for joining me. Thank you to YouTube for letting us back on the platform. Thank you to everybody who watched and is in the comments. We will talk to you this weekend. Pat Bev says, y'all subscribe to my podcast while you're asking all these questions, but I'm not going to play that video because I don't know what's getting copyrighted. Peace out.
And listen.